Ethylene oxide lawsuits for community and occupational exposure. Ethylene oxide lawsuit claims center on allegations that Sterigenics and other defendants negligently released hazardous levels of ethylene oxide, ETO, exposing nearby residents and workers to a known carcinogen linked to breast cancer, leukemia, lymphoma, and other serious illnesses. In this video, we'll discuss the basis of the ethylene oxide lawsuit, facilities in the United States known to release ethylene oxide emissions, the health risks of exposure to ethylene oxide, past lawsuits filed by those who have inhaled ethylene oxide and suffered health effects, and more. What is ethylene oxide? Ethylene oxide, ETO, is a colorless, flammable gas with several industrial uses, including sterilizing medical devices that cannot withstand high-temperature steam sterilization. Despite its efficacy in sterilization, ETO is recognized as a human carcinogen. Chronic inhalation exposure to ETO has been linked to an increased incidence of cancer and other serious injuries. Communities residing near facilities with uncontrolled industrial emissions of ETO face elevated cancer risks due to cumulative exposure over time. ETO for sterilization of medical equipment. ETO is highly reactive and is used for its ability to penetrate various materials, making it an effective sterilizing agent. It is particularly useful for sterilizing medical equipment and supplies that are sensitive to heat or moisture, such as certain plastics, electronics, and surgical instruments. It allows for sterilizing complex and delicate instruments that cannot withstand traditional high-temperature steam sterilization. ETO's effectiveness against a broad spectrum of microorganisms, including bacteria, viruses, and fungi, has made it a widely adopted sterilization technique in the healthcare industry. Despite its effectiveness in sterilization, ETO is recognized as a carcinogen. Communities near sterilization facilities may be at risk of exposure, putting residents at serious health risks. Adverse health effects due to exposure. Known human health effects of exposure to ethylene oxide include breast cancer, lymphohematopoietic cancers, acute myeloid leukemia, AML, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, CLL, neurological effects, reproductive toxicity, immune system suppression, genetic mutations and cellular damage. Symptoms of exposure to ethylene oxide. Common symptoms of ethylene oxide, ETO, exposure include respiratory irritation, chronic cough, wheezing, shortness of breath, eye and skin irritation, burning sensation, redness, rashes, gastrointestinal tract symptoms, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, neurological symptoms, dizziness, headaches, memory loss, cognitive impairment, fatigue and weakness. Hormonal and reproductive issues, irregular menstrual cycles, fertility problems, increased susceptibility to infections due to immune suppression. Chronic exposure-related secondary effects, including an elevated risk of cancer and long-term organ damage. Ethylene oxide regulation. Although existing regulations to control emissions exist, concerns about their effectiveness in protecting workers and surrounding communities have led to calls for stronger measures. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, has already implemented some regulations, including the National Emission Standards for Hazardous Air Pollutants, NESHAP, and Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, exposure limits. However, critics argue that these measures have not mitigated the full health risks associated with ETO. In response, the EPA has introduced more stringent air emission standards. The final rule, issued in April 2024, aims to significantly reduce ETO emissions from commercial sterilizers. These new regulations focus on enhancing emission controls, requiring facilities to adopt advanced technologies and improved operational protocols to limit ETO release into the atmosphere. The goal is to better protect public health by reducing exposure to cancer-causing pollutants, both for workers directly handling ETO and for communities living near sterilization facilities. Despite these efforts, continued monitoring and developing more effective regulatory frameworks remain essential to ensure comprehensive protection. What medical sterilization facilities emit ethylene oxide? Attorneys are investigating ethylene oxide exposure claims near sterilization facilities in the following states: California, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Massachusetts, Maryland, Missouri, Nebraska, New Jersey, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Puerto Rico, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia. As new research and emission levels become publicly available, additional communities are expected to be added to the ongoing list. For a comprehensive list of all locations and facilities, visit TorHoerman.com. You can use the chatbot to determine if your community qualifies for an ETO lawsuit. Lawsuits against sterilization facilities have resulted in significant compensation. Multiple lawsuits against Sterigenics and other medical sterilization companies have resulted in substantial financial compensation for victims affected by exposure. Some notable results include $363 million verdict awarded to a single plaintiff in a lawsuit against Sterigenics Willowbrook plant for ETO-related breast cancer. $408 million global settlement resolved multiple lawsuits from Illinois residents exposed to emissions from Sterigenics Willowbrook facility. $35 million settlement in Gwinnett County, Georgia, compensation awarded in a case involving cancer clusters near a Sterigenics facility. These results demonstrate that courts recognize the serious health risks associated with ETO exposure, holding negligent companies accountable for their actions. Active ETO lawsuits. Attorneys are actively investigating claims from individuals diagnosed with breast cancer, leukemia, lymphoma, and other serious illnesses linked to ethylene oxide ETO exposure. Communities near sterilization facilities have faced significant health risks due to toxic exposure. Companies responsible for emitting ETO have failed to protect workers and residents, and lawsuits are holding them accountable for the harm they have caused. If you lived or worked near an ETO emitting facility and later developed a related illness, you may be eligible to file a lawsuit and seek financial compensation. Do you qualify for the ethylene oxide exposure lawsuit? If you or a loved one were diagnosed with cancer or other serious health problems associated with exposure to ethylene oxide and lived near a facility with known emissions, you may be eligible to file an ethylene oxide lawsuit and seek financial compensation. Contact TorHoerman Law today for a free consultation. Use the chatbot on our website, TorHoerman.com, to instantly determine if you qualify for an ethylene oxide lawsuit.